As subpar as the Animorphs Transformers were, they're so much fun to talk about for that very reason. Back then, Hasbro and Kenner designed several deluxes for the line that morphed from one Earth animal to another. The concept posed quite the challenge, as both forms had to be at least somewhat recognizable as the creatures in question, but unlike the human Animorphs toys, it's not impossible to pick two animals that could feasibly convert from one to the other. When the line was cancelled, the 4 planned molds were retooled and released as the Beast Wars Mutants. In story, the Mutants are a third faction which the bio depicts as Fusors, victimized by Megatron's virus from Beast Machines. However, instead of causing mode lock, it reconfigured them. At the cost of their robot modes, they could now switch from beast to beast. The leader of the pack is Icebird, whose first beast mode is a polar bear. Beast Wars was never a slouch in the detailing department, and this hyper carnivore is covered in molded fur. Below you have the paw pads, the teeth are well defined, and they even bothered sculpting a tongue. But all that pales in comparison to the front claws. Polars are already among the most aggressive creatures. If they had claws this long, we wouldn't dare venture to the Arctic. Not only that, but either Cybertron has spars, or Icebird has gone on a mauling spree. I guess they had to make him colourful somehow since, well, polars aren't known for that. While the same could be said for the tiger stripe chest patterns, they, along with the grey flanks, are more for his other mode. Speaking of, the beak poking out of his butt is the only kibble to be had here. It's not the first time a polar has shown up in Beast Wars, but of the two, Icebird easily beats Polar Claw in posability. The shoulders and hips are ball jointed, the elbows bend, and you have swivels at the bicep and the front paw. The joint in each rear paw is ball and socket at one end and hinged at the other. As you saw earlier, his mouth opens, meanwhile his tail hinges up and down. The mutants have their own set of tricks. The right shoulder not only bears the mutant insignia on a chrome disc, but a panel flips up, revealing mechanical detailing painted gunmetal grey. Also, all 4 have a hidden robot head gimmick, but unlike his comrades, Icebirds can remain deployed. It too is done in gunmetal paint, and has feather-like details sprouting at the sides, similar to Airraiser. With a name like Icebird, you know why. It's a safe bet that Icebird's second beast mode is a snowy or arctic owl. As a former Fusor, you gotta wonder how he looked pre-mutation. I have to say, Icebird's transformation would be much smoother if not for those stupid springs in the polar bear and robot heads, and the owl's tail, the last of which won't stay out of the way once you're done. This, to me, is the more compromised mode, especially compared to the other Beast Wars owl, Prowl, who wasn't even wholly organic. Aside from the springed tail, he's incredibly wide-legged. What are now talons are still much too long. It's not like the bear's claws had to be that long for the owl's sake. And while it's clever how the rear legs store and fill up his body, it's still pretty gappy. That aside, it's a passable owl. The bear's fur etchings are now feather lines. The gradient orange is questionable, but the black markings, including on the wings, mimic the owl's plumage. The head, wings and tail feathers are all well detailed. Plus the wings themselves are sizable enough. Each one is made up of 3 hinges. Don't expect great looking posability from them, as they can't properly furl. It's more so they fold up to form the bear's flanks. The owl's leg articulation is carried over from the bear's forelegs. Most of the time you'll be moving them to stop the tail springing forward. The outer tail feathers furl in and out a bit, and as part of the gimmick, the bear's tail is now a button. Press it and the beak spins up, let go when it swivels back down. It could work better though, since the alignment of the button and internal mechanism is a bit off. The mutants are more interesting than great figures. Icebird is one of the better executed, with both modes being fairly convincing, more so the bear. If not for those obnoxious springs, I'd have no major complaints. As is, I'll be generous and rank him silver. The jury's still out on whether he's my most recommended of the 4. Yes, I have all 4. I'm not reviewing them back to back, but fear not, The rest will come.